6 African countries have announced a peace initiative. Basically, Ramaphosa, the South African president, spoke on the phone with Zelensky and then with Putin. And basically, both sides, the Ukrainians and Russians, agreed to meet this delegation of 6 African countries so they can find a solution to end the war. The 6 countries are Senegal, Uganda, Egypt, Republic of Congo, Zambia, and South Africa. Let me play you the clip of Ramaphosa, the South African president.
At the spotlight, particularly the Russia-Ukraine conflict.
We're aiming that with the preparations that will get underway, this peace mission will contribute to the various other missions that are underway to bring a solution to that conflict. My discussions with the 2 leaders demonstrated that they are both ready to receive the African leaders and to have a discussion on how this conflict can be brought to an end. Whether that will succeed or not is going to depend on the discussions that will be held.
You know, obviously from the get-go, this is a very noble and honorable and smart and a constructive initiative. You know, instead of sending weapons and bombing for peace, the Africans, these 6 African nations are actually doing something constructive, and it's good to hear that. Both presidents, Ukrainian and Russian, will meet them. I just wanted to say something because they're giving. It's very important that South Africa is leading this. I'll tell you why. Because South Africa, number one, is a BRICS country, right? So when we say BRICS, we mean Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. These are the five economies, major economies that are bursting on the scene, right? It was first BRIC, and then actually South Africa joined, was the latest to join, and many other countries want to join now because they see how successful it is. And these countries that actually produce things, the BRICS, are taking back the plundering, making up for all of the money lost in colonial wars against them and plundering, because South Africa was British and Dutch colony, and China had the Opium Wars. Britain waged opium wars against them, and so on and so on. And India, I mean, obviously, Britain, we colonized that for 200 years. So these countries that actually produce things, are taking back the world economy, and they're going to work on their own currency or bilateral currencies between each other. And South Africa leading this is so important because it shows that South Africa is not only a powerhouse on the economic level, but also now a peacemaker and powerhouse on the international stage, on a diplomatic level, right? That they actually matter, that they're, taking the initiative, and they are like China, another BRICS country, and like Russia. So when I say China got Iran and Saudi Arabia to make peace. Then Russia came in after Iran and Saudi Arabia. You had, Syria and Saudi Arabia and Yemen and Saudi Arabia and so on. All of these BRICS countries playing a role recently on the diplomatic level to actually, instead of wage war, sue for peace. To do something constructive. And now South Africa is also taking the reins, and they are giving South Africa a lot of heat. Okay, so recently the U.S. ambassador to South Africa, he starts accusing the South African government of arming Russia, right? In the conflict with the war in Ukraine. And so they say that this ship that docked at the Simontown port back in December was actually loading weapons for Russia. And let me just show you the clip where he accuses where he makes this allegation a few days ago. Okay, take a listen.
The arming of Russia by South Africa with the vessel that landed in Simonstown is fundamentally unacceptable. We are confident that weapons were loaded onto that vessel, and I would bet my life on the accuracy of that assertion.
He would bet his life. That's the U.S. ambassador saying he would bet his life that South Africa, where he's, where he's carrying out his diplomatic mission, the host country where he is a guest, is arming Russia. So the next day, the South African Foreign Ministry summoned him for what is known as a démarche, which means they dressed him down. They set him straight. And it was so embarrassing. Look what happened. This is a post on Twitter showing a photograph of the South African foreign minister giving him such a stern look, like she wants to murder him or something. Okay, so this is the day after he made that video, right? And look at the long tweet. He said, "We conveyed our displeasure with his conduct, and he admitted that he crossed the line and apologized unreservedly." He went from "I would bet my life that South Africa is arming Russia" to "I apologize unreservedly." Oh wow, man. Here he is the next day. This is his tweet. He says, "I was grateful for the opportunity to speak with Foreign Minister Pandor this evening and correct any misimpressions left by my public remarks. In our conversation, I reaffirmed the strong partnership between our countries and an important agenda our presidents have given us." Man, that picture is so... That should be a meme. That should be a meme, man. Look how she wants to murder him. He looks like her son. She's giving him a proper démarche, she's just dressing him down. Game over. Oh man, he really did cross the line. You're a guest in the country. At any second, she can literally tear up his credentials and say, "Get out, leave the country." See, you can have diplomatic immunity, but you can't piss off the host country. There are limits. I mean, Jesus Christ, you should see the American ambassadors in other countries. They are so ill-mannered and rude. They behave like goddamn hoodlums. You got the U.S. ambassador to Russia, or the U.S. ambassador to Syria, the U.S. ambassador to Lebanon, all helping people organize protests against the government that has given them their credentials as diplomats. Jesus Christ. It's like, you're invited to stay over at a friend's house, and that friend is trying to get people in the neighborhood to come beat your ass. I mean, the level of disrespect. I know, I've told you many times, embassies are basically spy stations. They are. They of course, they serve many functions of the foreign ministry, but they're spy stations. At least try and hide it. I know they're going to do this kind of stuff, but try and hide it, man. Have some respect. It's okay to tell you to get the protest going, but do it discreetly, please. They don't even have the basic common decency. I'm really happy to see the South African Foreign Ministry dress him down. U.S. diplomats, U.S. ambassadors, you're not above the law, especially in the countries that you're serving, and carrying out your mission in, and you shouldn't go testing the Vienna Convention. Don't go testing your host's patience. Don't do this because South Africa, they kicked the white colonizers' butts. They took back the country. ANC, Ramaphosa helped write the constitution. He's part of. He was, if I remember correctly, he was the second to nominate Nelson Mandela to the presidency. It's a very important video. The fact that they're accusing him, after having taken back the country, of arming Russia, it's an attempt to kind of chip away at their credibility, lash out at them on the international stage, make them look weak, make them look guilty, because they're a BRICS country, because South Africa is very clear, like, we're done with this Western shit, like China, like Russia, they want a multipolar world. They're done with Western hegemony. Look what they did to the continent. Here's the leader of the opposition in South Africa accusing the president of arming the Russians.
Mr. President, it's not only gold and cigarettes that are being smuggled. A little while ago, the United States government announced that weapons, ammunition, and materials of war were loaded onto the sanctioned Russian ship, the Lady R, when she docked at your government's naval base in Simon.
You know, he tells him afterwards when he responds, like, why are you saying your government's base? It's a base, it's a naval base that belongs, you know, it's a dock that belongs to the people of South Africa, not to the government. Like, it's so weird, you know?
Town last December. This suggests that the ANC government is actively arming Russian soldiers and
Order, honorable members,
who are
please.
murdering and maiming innocent people, not only in Ukraine, but also across the African continent.
Oh, yeah, you care so much about the African continent.
It's been half
a
year now since the scandal of the Lady R docking in Simonstown broke. And I find it inconceivable that a president worth his salt would not have been briefed on the situation by now. Mr. President, can you confirm whether weapons of war were loaded on board that Russian ship before she left Simonstown? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Whilst Mr. Steenhuisen puffs off.
So he makes the same point, and he has the same reaction about this, your government's Simonstown port.
Simonstown. And regard installations as important as. We are all aware of the news that we all became aware of the Lady R, and that whole matter.
Lady R is the name
Honorable
of the ship.
Steenhuisen, is being looked into. It's being, no, it isn't. It's being looked into, and whilst the process continues, I want you to allow that process to continue to reach its fruition. I know that you are so keen. You are so keen and you are so interested in knowing exactly what happened. The matter is being looked into, and in time we'll be able to speak about it. Yes, in time we'll talk about it. So, Honorable Speaker, as you correctly said, this matter best be left where it is. And
I honestly, I find this response a bit, you know, obviously very vague. But let me just contrast this with how the American was treated, because it's perfectly normal for a leader of the opposition to ask, you know, it's like in the UK we have prime minister's questions, right? So here they're doing the same thing, and it's perfectly legitimate. But for an American ambassador or any other ambassador, a foreigner who is a guest in the country, to start saying shit like this, about, you know, talking crap about their host, you crossed the red line. And I'm really happy the South African Foreign Ministry put their foot down and also put the American ambassador back in his place and back in line, because you don't get away with crap like that. You know, you can, once you're back in America, you can say what you like, but you need, if you're gonna say things like this, you have to at least be, no pun intended, diplomatic about it, right? And I find, again, the pivot, like, I would bet my life on it, to I apologized unreservedly. Man, again, I reiterate my previous comments. This should be a meme format. Look at the dressing down she gave him. Oh my God. There's a reason this is called a démarche. Because when you fucked up and you get summoned the next day by the foreign ministry, you know you fucked up. When I was talking about the BRICS countries, I mean, look at the diplomacy that they've engaged in. China, in regards to Iran and Saudi Arabia, got them talking and got them to got their rapprochement set their rapprochement in motion. So China helping Saudi Arabia and Iran hash things out. Then Russia helping along with Iran to make to try and make peace between Turkey and Syria. So that's, again, another effort that Russia's involved in, and Iran, right? Iran, who also wants to join BRICS. Russia and China already members, right? Founding members. And now South Africa with the peace initiative in Ukraine, trying to forge peace, but trying to make peace between Ukraine and Russia. Do you see how these BRICS countries, not only on an economic level, are they surpassing the West, but they're also surpassing them, morally, ethically, in their behavior and on the international stage. And they're really making a fool of the West because, our foreign policy is dropping bombs on other people and killing them and stealing their resources and maiming them. And it's been like that for hundreds of years. They have a completely different approach to foreign policy. They actually get things done and they don't kill people in the process. Maybe we should be more like South Africa and China and Russia in our foreign policy and less like, neo-colonial monsters.